Okay, take it away, Darren.
All right, well, welcome everybody. It feels like it's been a long time, but got to look back. Our last meeting was in September, so hope everybody's having a great 2024 so far. It's good to get the band back together here. So I think the first thing we need to do is everybody had a chance to look at the minutes. Were there any comments or edits on the minutes before we vote to approve? No comments? Okay. Hearing none, I'll need a motion to approve.
Motion to approve the minutes.
Is there a second?
I'll second.
Okay, all in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Opposed? All right, the minutes are approved. That was the hard part of the agenda. Back to you, Daphne.
Sure. Okay. So I will get us started.
It's a tough job being the chair here, you know. So.
See, can you see that, Darren, on your Zoom? Okay, great.
Yep, good.
Yeah, so I have a lot I want to cover since this is kind of our kickoff. Hi, Ben. Thanks for joining.
Hey.
And so this is kind of our kickoff meeting for this TIF extension that I've kind of mentioned over and over again. And so there's just going to be some things that I want to go over, just another housing data overview. I just kind of copied and pasted a bunch of past presentations we've done. So some of it should look familiar to a lot of you. We're going to go over what the TIF extension is. This is a PowerPoint I copied from our finance director. He was supposed to give it about a couple weeks ago during the committee of the whole, but that was canceled due to snow. So we're just going to go over that really briefly now. And then I spoke to our city administrator, Brian Gatto, who previously worked for the city of Monona, and they've already gone through this TIF extension before. So he gave me some feedback on what they had done. And I also spoke with the housing planner for the city of Sun Prairie, and they had done this about 5 or so years ago. So I discussed, some of the things that they have done as well. And then just moving forward, some of our next steps that we can take. So this is just some housing data. This is taken from the Capital Area Regional Planning Commission. They have a development framework for the whole region. And so they came out with this last year and they projected almost 200,000 more people. Yes, it is.
Okay, good.
Yes. Right, yeah. So they projected, about 200,000 people would move into Dane County by 2050. Sorry, you guys might not be able to see this because Darren is in the way. Sorry. But I'll move him here for now. But basically, currently Middleton has, it's about 4% of the population of all of Dane County. So if we are growing, consistently, proportionally about, with the rest of Dane County, we would be adding about 8,000 people by 2050, which is a lot. This bottom chart was our population projections from about 2019. This was in our comprehensive plan. And so in 2019, why this keeps going back, sorry. In 2019, they projected us to be about at 20,000, 21,000 in 2020. And that was about, correct, because it was next year. So they had a good idea. However, their next projection was for 2035 to be about 25,000. And we're already at, 23 and a half. So we're growing, I think, much faster than what was projected. We're growing, from 2020 to now, it's about 1,000 people a year. And so we're probably going to hit the 2035 projection by about 2026 or so, so 10 years ahead of schedule. And so here, I gotta move there again. these are our actual permits that we've approved since 2018. So you can see this red is the multifamily units. This like greenish yellow is our single family units. And so, we do have years where, we have quite a big bit of spikes, but we're generally around this 150 units a year since 2018. So, that is good that we have, this kind of trend of, consistently creating more units in the city.
Does the city also keep track of which ones are affordable?
Not like in the data we have right now, but it should be pretty easy to find out.
It would just be interesting to see
Yeah.
how we're tracking, we've got that goal.
Mhm.
How are we doing? How much of a percentage of our stock is affordable? Yeah.
Yeah, so related to that is vacancy rate. So our homeowner vacancy rate is at 0%. I think it's currently still at 0%. So all the homes that can be owned in Middleton are owned. And then the rental vacancy rate, Kurt Paulson, he's a professor at UW. He was gonna give a bigger update at the committee of the whole meeting as well on 2022 and 23 numbers. And his actually showed that, we are getting closer to this 5% than we were in 21. This is Middleton showing at 2.7% in 2021. And then he was showing us closer to that healthy vacancy rate of 5%. However, that doesn't mean we can, take a break and rest because, if we're adding 8,000 more people in about 20 years or so, we still have to be producing more housing in order to, for all these people to, live in Middleton.
Daphne?
Yeah.
Can I ask, do we know how many of the houses, how many single family houses are actually rented out to people or used for short-term rentals?
We don't have an idea of that right now, but with our new zoning ordinance, we are starting to track. We'll have like an application process for, short-term rentals and all of that. So that way we can better track, what is actually being rented or owned in Middleton.
Because there were a number of municipalities at the League of Wisconsin Municipalities meeting
Mhm.
who reported that one of them, I can look in my notes, they did, I think it was Appleton, they did an audit. No, it was Sheboygan. They did an audit to find out how many of their houses were being used almost solely for
Mm.
short-term rentals, which I know our code will not allow, correct?
I think
Once the new code is adopted.
the new code it's definitely a lot more difficult to do short-term rentals. I think we mimic a lot of what Madison has in their ordinance. So, they can only, they have to live,
In it for so
in
long.
it, yeah, for at least half a year in order for them to be able to rent.
I just remember they thought they had something like 75 houses based on their own city records, but then when they did an audit that went out and looked at VRBO and Airbnb, those systems,
Yeah.
they uncovered like a couple hundred more. So they were saying that's a growing problem, especially in a place where you have tourism, and events that take place where people will want to rent. A lot of people are holding on to their homes, even if they live somewhere else, because they can use
Right.
it for Airbnb. Airbnb.
Right, yeah. Yeah, so also kind of related to that is, just the overall home value, right? And so a lot of people don't want to sell in Middleton anymore because their homes are a lot more valuable. That's at least a trend that is kind of being uncovered in the past, 2 or 3 years. And so, Shorewood Hills and Maple Bluff, I consider those as like kind of special cities, different from the rest of Dane County. But if you compare us with, all the other, peer communities, Middleton is by far the most expensive, at least in terms of home values. This is more recent data from 2021 and 22, they took out Shorewood Hills and Maple Bluff, but, Middleton is once again at, one of the most expensive communities to live in. And so, one aspect of that is, the Middleton School District, a lot of families want to move in here. However, in our recent, discussions with the school district, they've told us, they're having a lot of issues with enrollment. There aren't as many students enrolling in, the Middleton school districts because a lot of families can't afford to live here anymore or move into Middleton. So it's kind of like catch-22 because, home prices are high because we have a great school district, but then it becomes unaffordable for families to move in.
And they want more students. We also heard-
They want more.
Because that's one of the biggest questions I get is where are we gonna put all the students, with the new housing developments going in?
Mhm.
And Dana Minogue said, we actually
They're
need
looking
more
for more,
students,
yeah.
yeah.
Yeah, so that was just some data overview. Now we can go into more of what is this tax increment finance district. For those of you who don't know, it's, taxes, we take property taxes every year, right? But the city, what the city actually uses in our, operations or, our budgeting is kind of frozen over a period of time. And whatever increment builds on top of what is frozen, that is kind of reinvested into these TIF districts. So, the hope is that property values increase over time. So over time, the increment will increase and increase and increase. We're looking at closing our TIF District 3, which is in the downtown area. And so when that closes, we have the option to extend it for one more year and extend it for this affordable housing extension. And what that is that at least, 75% of that increment from that 1 year goes exclusively to affordable housing. The remaining 25% can be used for just housing in general. And this can be done, anywhere in the city. It doesn't have to be, specifically in the downtown TIF district. And then basically how it works is that the Common Council will need to approve a resolution to allow for this extension. And whatever is written in the extension in the resolution is basically what we can spend our money on. So that resolution is very important. That's what the state will look at, to see if we're following, what we said we would do.
When does TID 3 close?
I believe it technically closes in 2030. But we have the option to close it early as I think next year.
Yeah, there's a desire to close it early for a couple of reasons. But even if we close it early, we can still
Get the year.
get the year.
Right.
Yeah.
So to get the year earlier, you could close it early.
Right,
Mhm.
exactly.
And when, okay.
Yeah. And so this was a presentation made by our finance director, Bill Burns. He also created some of these FAQs. So, you can use the funds anywhere within the city, not just in the TIF district. Affordable housing, the state defines it as housing that costs no more than 30% of your household's gross monthly income. Usually we use the area median income. So there is some calculations we'll have to do to see if it, qualifies. And then is the municipality required to use affordable housing funds within 1 year? No, we get to set it aside into a separate affordable housing fund and use that until, the funds are completely exhausted. Does the state have a list of eligible affordable housing costs? No, it's basically whatever is stated into our resolution. That is what we can use the money for. And then some examples are, some cities, I think like Madison, will set it aside for one specific development. So, they might be working closely with an affordable housing developer and just pour all that money into that one development. Others, they do a revolving loan fund or a grant program for, mortgage payment assistance. And so, each municipality can kind of, come up with their own plan for this money.
We have an idea of what the approximate magnitude of the,
I don't think we'll know until it closes. But there is some idea of how much, like it's a very big number of like around $1 million or so. But we don't know exactly how much it will be until it
and the
closes.
75% of that million would then be for affordable housing?
Correct, yep. Yeah, So as I said before, I spoke with,
Sorry, just at least 75 or at least 75?
At least 75.
At least.
So,
At
yeah,
least.
great question.
yeah. And so I spoke with, our city administrator who is familiar with, the program in Monona. So they had a low interest, loan program, which I think is actually currently still going on. Since it is a loan program, they are paid back and then they can, reissue a new loan to whoever else needs it. He did cite that, it does take additional city staff time, and to administer, review applications and all of that, which our city staff, it might be a little, I mean, maybe once our zoning ordinance is approved, we can look at that, but right now it's really difficult with our current city staff load. He also said it was difficult to find a bank to actually finance the loans because a lot of these are really small numbers. It's like maybe 5,000, maybe up to 15,000 per loan. And so it's not really, something that a lot of banks are really interested in taking on. And then if a bank doesn't take it on, then it's up to city staff to become like a quasi bank institution to try and get, payments and all of that, which is even more staff time. In Monona, they found it difficult to target more of the lower income, first time home buyers. They found it was more, middle income people that probably could have afforded, maybe a smaller or less expensive home. And then they were able to find the program and then get, either a bigger home or something like that. And so he suggested actually looking into partnering with, existing organizations. There's the Wisconsin Housing and Economic Development Association, I think. And they offer, first-time home buyer loans. And so it's an existing program. It's, across Wisconsin, but we could maybe partner with them to have something specifically for Middleton. That way, they're already familiar with this whole process. And then, we can use their expertise for that. I also spoke with City of Sun Prairie, their housing planner, Becky Binns. She said that her, actually a portion of her salary is funded through their TIF district that they had closed about 5 or 6 years ago. The issue with that is it's a very finite number. It was, exactly allotted for, the 5 or so years. And so it will expire this year, the amount of funding that is given to her. So now they're trying to look for other funds to, continue her position. However, I mean, she has done a great amount of work for the city of Sun Prairie, and, she, whoever takes this role for Middleton, if we go with this process, they can administer loans or do the loan review process, and do a lot of these other ideas that are here. And so some of the other things that Sun Prairie did is, Becky, she created their like housing website, and it's like a one-stop shop for developers, for like renters, for first-time home buyers, everything. It has a bunch of resources, not just for Sun Prairie, but for, all of Dane County. So I've actually referred a lot of people from Middleton when they call, I'm like, actually, Sun Prairie has a great website, so you should go check theirs out. And then, sorry, this is a little hard to see. And then the last thing is, they funded a lot of pop-ups with the Tenant Resource Center, which is in, I think, downtown Madison right now. But, the partnership that they built with all of those pop-ups actually saw, they saw it was really fruitful. And so now they actually have a permanent satellite office out in Sun Prairie. And so, some of these educational programs or pop-ups that they funded, became a permanent resource for Sun Prairie. Some other ideas is we have a lot of existing programs. The best one that I could think of was our Energy Efficiency Navigator project. This is led by our sustainability coordinator, Kelly Hilliard. And so this is looking at naturally occurring affordable housing. So it's a lot of the older, more rundown apartment units that just, naturally became more so over the years. And it gives them energy efficiency upgrades, replacing windows, redoing the roof, putting in solar, stuff like that. And so, I think her funding is ending this year, because we used ARPA funds for that. And so this is another project that we could continue on, with TIF funding. Other examples of existing community organizations is Own It. This is focused specifically towards improving Black home ownership. This is, all across Dane County. So I don't know if we would be able to get, some sort of specific partnership for Middleton, but it is something we can look into. And then again, Way Forward Resources, or formerly known as MOM, Middleton Outreach Ministry. They're local here to Middleton, and they have a housing stability program that we could also support. And then another one I just thought of today was like our senior center also has like specific housing programs to help seniors, stay in their housing as well. So that is another thing we could do. And then lastly is a community land trust. This was, I think, specifically spelled out in our comprehensive plan. And so, working with the Madison Area Community Land Trust is an option. That's long-term affordable ownership housing, which would be really great for Middleton. So moving forward, there is already, a plan kind of being built by Dane County. It's the Dane County Regional Housing Strategy. They've identified these 5 priorities that they're going to focus on. I think the plan is going to be released in a week or two. So, when it is, I'll definitely send it along. But they've already identified these, general priorities. All of the previous ideas kind of also fit within these priorities as well. So, this is also something that maybe you guys can think of. And if you think of, a specific program or something interesting that fits in with something like this, that's something we can explore as well.
Daphne, are those
Yeah.
in order of priority for the strategy or just?
I think so. This was the order that was given to me.
Okay.
So, I believe that is the correct order. Yeah. Moving forward, I was thinking we could, start maybe meeting monthly again, just because there is, something on our agenda that we could discuss, especially since next meeting, we'll probably have an update from the committee of the whole, which was canceled or, delayed. And then hopefully by then we'll also have the regional housing strategy plan that I can, give to you. We can discuss some of, their ideas, and maybe that will give us, more specific things we could do in Middleton as well. And then if you guys, keep your eyes and ears open, if you hear of any cool programs or something you would like to see in Middleton, we can discuss any of those as well. So that's all I have for us today. Yeah, do you guys have any thoughts or preferences on maybe some of these ideas that I came up with for now?
I like the idea of the sustainability section, only because it did a couple things for us. It helps get energy efficiency, and it helps reinvest in some of the older properties. So it's kind of a win-win situation there.
Does Kelly have any sort of results or benefits that she's been able to document from that program?
She's currently, I think, in the middle of, they're like in the middle of doing their like first 1 or 2.
Okay.
So we will hear back pretty soon, I think, about it. Yeah.
On 5 too, I know there's some, there's others, like you said, Building Black Wealth is massive, but I know there's some that are, I think they're that based in Milwaukee, not necessarily just desire to focus there though, so it could be an opportunity for us
Yeah.
to work with them. I think my bank has worked with someone in Milwaukee on that, so.
Yeah, if you have the names of any,
Okay.
feel free to send them. Yeah.
I
One thing-
really like the, oh, I'm sorry, go ahead, Darren.
No, go ahead. Go ahead.
Okay, I like the Energy Efficiency Navigator project, and I do think there will be some lessons learned from that. The one we're doing now is focused on rental properties with 4 to 8, I think,
Right.
units. But it could be something that Middleton, it's, if we did this, we'd extend to maybe like a duplex where the owner lives in one unit, because that was not allowed for whatever reason. And I know there was an issue that came up with solar, because the rebate program under the federal legislation, the rebate program only gives it to the owners. And there was, it was a confusing thing, because the whole idea is for the one we're doing now is to lower the costs of living, the utilities, lower those costs for the renters. But the owner was the one who was getting the benefit of the solar. And so I don't know how we ever worked that out.
Yeah.
But another program, and I brought this, I don't know if you can make a copy and share it with
yeah.
people. But there's a really good article in here. I wrote all over it. Anyway, it's a public-private housing venture in Sheboygan Falls. And the mayor of Sheboygan Falls was at this meeting of the League of Wisconsin Municipalities. And he gave a presentation on this, I think it's called, I write it down, Founders Point, which is a public-private housing venture. Basically a subdivision that is being built. I think only 4 homes are available right now, but according to this, it's going up to 175. And they were striving to have the mortgages be under $250,000. So they're smaller homes. But they got the private sector to participate. Actually, the private sector kind of came to them. 5 companies, well, the county and 4 companies gave $2 million each to a project to fund this, so that they could bring in employees from out of Sheboygan County to work at, like, I don't know if Kohler was one, but the big manufacturing companies. Because they can't get, they can't get workers to come, and none of these companies is in Sheboygan Falls, but they were so interested in this, and Falls had some land. They had areas that were available for this. So it was a really great presentation, and it seems like the public-private partnership seems like a good idea. And I asked them how taxpayers in their community reacted to the requirement was 80% of the units are going to be reserved for people moving from outside of Sheboygan County into the county, and 20% was for residents moving around. And they said they didn't get any pushback at all. So I don't know how people would feel about it here, but it seemed like a really innovative program.
Yeah, if I could scan this.
Yeah.
And I'll send
Yeah.
it to
And they might even, if you can take that, leave it in my mailbox. but,
Okay, yeah.
They might even have it online. I
Oh, yeah,
I
yeah.
don't know if they do. And then the other thing I thought of is condos, because that's the thing. I really like the emphasis, that's why I asked about the county. I really like the elevation of rental. Because I think there's I don't know, I think there's 2 things going on. There's sort of an attitude about apartments and apartment dwellers. I've seen it come up recently in comments. And then there's also the changing in lifestyles, and our people, I've asked my daughter, she's 30, I've asked her, do you have any desire to own a home, or do you always think you'll live in an apartment or a condo? And she said she would love to have a condo for the purpose of building wealth, but they're hard to find. So I think condos strike a balance between apartments and which I think there's nothing wrong with apartments. Someday I hope to move into one again, which was like the last thing I would ever, the 25-year-old me would have ever thought I'd say. But I think if we can strike a balance between pushing home ownership, which requires much more land, and pushing apartments, which some people feel is not good for the community, I think condos would be a good middle ground.
Or any kind of attached housing.
Yep.
Yeah.
Right.
For sale attached housing, yeah, right.
I always kind of laugh when people talk about, old apartments, like every one of us probably lived in an apartment at some point, and we were all good people, just striving with our daily life and our careers. We all lived in apartments, and that's where you start. So I kind of chuckle when I hear people trying to pull the
What if you
straw
could try
from
to
the
like do some of that with the zoning changes of saying, like the height requirement or restriction is less of a big deal.
Yeah, I
Can you-
think right.
Could you put
Oh,
that previous one? I just wanted to share just kind of an anecdotal story on, maybe one more. Oh, no, that one, sorry. So I've been on the board at Mom Way Forward for about 7 years now, and we're really excited to, have that housing stability program. One thing I do want to mention with that, because they use federal dollars, so they use the federal poverty limit, which is really, really low, before anybody can qualify for assistance, and anybody really at that low federal poverty level is really going to be struggling in Middleton. I mean, it's like, I don't know, $18,000 a year. And, just to find something halfway affordable at that, income level is it's nearly impossible. So there are other organizations, in Way Forward, they're bound by their, the federal money that they get and what they can do with it. But there's other organizations like Urban Triage, Catalyst for Change, and even High Point Church, which help get people into their, first, apartment. Now, whether or not they can, it's affordable in the long term and they can stay in it, that might be another issue. But they're really good resources to help people get in with like first month rent or security deposit or whatnot. So, and they do offer services out in the Middleton area. So that's just a nice, and they use Dane County poverty limits, not federal. So they're able to help, a broader range of people that are looking for help. So just wanted to throw that out there.
Yeah, that's good to know, Darren.
I don't know if anybody else looked at that Own It Building Black Wealth website at all, but it's pretty interesting. It's a pretty interesting program. I'd always thought, oh, would be a good way to do it. And there it is. Somebody's actually.
Yeah, I think they partner with a school specifically too, and get a lot of the kids interested in it, and then the kids bring their parents, which is a great way to, I think target a lot of specifically Black and African American families, because parents are all parents are always like scattered, across so many things, and so then the kids can drag them kind of along, which is a great idea.
On item 1, Daphne, back on the prior page, how recent did they try and launch that program? Is that pretty recent that they've done that, or?
No, I think this one has been going on for, I think, at least like 6 or 7 years now. So it's been, continuing along. I think they've changed. I think it used to be like they've changed some of the interest rates over the years, but I think it's been going on for a while. Yeah.
Just curious on point 2, which is probably true, but I think would be speculates probably a little bit easier now because the banks are under a lot of pressure and are proactively trying to improve their community reinvestment work. So it
Okay.
might be like Bank of America is going to open branches in the Madison area
Oh,
before
okay.
too long. Big company, a lot of money.
Yeah.
Huh.
It's good to know.
Yeah.
Maybe this is the right time to be partnering with some banks.
And how big did you say the loans were?
I think it was like 5 to, I think the highest was maybe 15,000.
Because I'm wondering if there's anybody who's using the property tax on a home as an incentive, like, issuing a rebate or free, no property tax your first year for affordable home owners. And if that could somehow be worked out with the bank, so that getting the money back for a small loan, $7,000 loan, whatever the property. I think here in this program, they were able to use the value of the lot as down payment assistance in these mortgages.
Hey, is the new apartment building on Century Avenue, is that affordable housing?
The one in front of the Metro Market.
Yeah, next to the.
Yeah. I think it has,
Let's say 51 units.
yeah.
and 39 of them maybe.
Yeah,
Or-
I think a little bit over half are affordable, something like that.
I couldn't find if you can rent, like, it seems like they're getting close, but I'm sure they're pretty far away, but I couldn't find if you could sign up for like a waiting list or something.
Oh,
It's like-
I think You would probably have to contact Madison Development Corporation. They're the developers. So yeah,
Site and it's, there's nothing on there, I don't think.
yeah, I don't think they have any signage or anything, you know, they're not promoting it or anything yet, but, I've had some people ask about that location specifically, and I just send them over to MDC, yeah.
Well, and thinking about educational programs, I mean, it's the Sun Prairie Housing website, is that
Mhm.
something we could replicate on our website?
I think definitely, I mean, as I said, a lot of their resources are, you know, Dane County in general. So, you know, even having something similar, even just like copy and pasting some of the things they have onto our website, I don't think Becky would mind. Yeah, that's definitely something we could do.
Or extend your contract over here to do.
I guess about the educational programs, like at our school, we have like financial literacy, which is like a required course. So if like some people could go in and talk about it, it could be like useful if like the kids could learn and then they could bring them back, like bring it back to their parents, like
Mhm.
Daphne was talking about.
Yeah.
Yeah, that would be good.
Is it a required class?
Financial literacy or like a course like economics, like a financial credit. Yeah.
That was a nice school. That would have been helpful.
Is this basically what we had on for the agenda, Daphne? Just this?
Yes. Yeah, so that's it. If anyone else has anything else, feel free to just, you know, email me with any questions, or if you find any programs or, you know, have a list of organizations we could work with, send them to me, and then I can create a little list, of things. And I have the ones that you already have, Darren: Urban Triage, Catalyst for Change, and High Point. So yeah, for now, is everyone tentatively okay with the February 19th meeting? And then, you know, we can also just go back to Zoom,
Okay.
since it's a little easier for
And-
people.
I'm gonna
At
have
that
to only
meeting-
join virtually through May. Monday nights I'm not available to meet in person,
Okay.
but I'm available Zoom through May. So feel free
Okay.
to, you know, if you guys want to meet or whatever, just patch me in here.
All right.
Are we looking for some kind of like formal thing that we'd recommend to the common council from this committee on what types of things we should do? And that's ultimately what we're looking for.
Yeah, that's the ultimate goal. I would say we should try and focus on maybe like 2 or 3, you know, topics. You know, maybe education is one of them, and so that could maybe be a little like pot of, you know, random things we can fund. But generally, I think we should focus on, you know, 2 or 3 key strategies that we would like to see here in Middleton. Because, you know, I say it's around $1 million, but, you know, once you start throwing things into a bunch of different pots, it's really difficult to make, and difficult to make a bigger impact with, you know, a bunch of things spread out.
Could you guys use a person on your staff?
Yes, we
I could use
definitely
many,
could.
many.
Yeah. Yeah, we're always looking for, you know,
They're looking for the resources. to
Right.
pay for additional staff.
yeah.
It's tough. Daphne, at our next meeting, do you think it'll be possible, maybe the committee of the whole can come up with a timeline
Mhm.
for us to know when council could be expecting a recommendation?
Yeah, I think if the committee of the whole could maybe come up with an idea of when they would like to see, you know, our recommendations to approve or, you know, have this resolution. So that way, you know, when they do come to make a decision, we can just, you know, have a template already ready for them.
Quick question, unrelated, but our meeting in September, when we made the recommendations on the zoning,
Mhm.
what's been what's come up with those? Is
That's
that-
a good
They still in
question.
play, they gone, right?
Yeah, so they did incorporate, I think, most of the workforce housing recommendations. especially with like I think our main thing was the height issue with, who gets, a bonus height if they're doing affordable housing, and so that's still. Hi, Sean. I'm trying to think of, maybe the minutes will help if
I thought we incorporated pretty much everything. We might have
Well,
made
we didn't,
modification.
we did not do eliminate the parking minimum.
Yes, yeah.
We didn't do that, even though Ped Bike and Transit also recommended it. It was, we allowed for the possibility that a developer could go to zero with the parking.
We didn't eliminate it, but we gave there's a method to get there.
Right.
Yeah.
Right.
Yeah.
And then we also, I think we learned that we could not, one of the things was to make single family homes and conditional use in a
Right.
multi-two or, multifamily or whatever. And that's not possible. It's got to be allowed, I think, under state law. And then the other one, we had said make duplexes and, twin homes or whatever. Yeah, and
Right.
conditional use. And there seemed to be support, but then the plan commission did not go forward despite efforts to do so. And one of the reasons was, like, technically, the way the accessory dwelling unit provisions are written, a duplex could be considered an accessory dwelling unit. So you could build a duplex, and this is your principal primary residence, and right next door, same size, attached to you, is an accessory dwelling unit. I thought that was a little, I mean, it's technically permissible, but if you don't think about
Would
that,
you?
yeah, why not just be explicit about it instead of have it be
So,
buried in
yeah.
the details?
Yeah.
So that was another one.
Yeah, so technically, all single family homes are allowed an accessory dwelling unit up to the size of the principal
Mhm.
house. As long as it fits within, all our other setback rules, and so that was kind of the workaround.
And it can be attached or detached.
Right,
Right.
correct, yeah,
And we did increase
Yeah.
the densities.
yeah.
Yeah.
All good discussion here.
Yeah, I think
Well-
that was most of it.
Are we looking to wrap up here?
I think for the next week, though, we wanted to see like how many of how much of the housing stock is rental or
Mhm.
like they're living in, right?
Right, yeah.
Not just like
owner rental.
short-term rental necessarily, but like all rentals and stuff. If that's
Okay.
possible.
Yeah, I can see what we can find.
And then I'm curious about why some years we have a whole lot of units and permitting go through and some years we don't. But I don't know what to look for.
I think in general, it's just like the cycle of development, we have, we might have a backlog of some things that are going through, all the committees and all of that, and then they all, kind of get approved at around the same time. Yeah, but I'm not sure on that either.
So in regard to the TID funding, are we thinking of mostly using it to like promote affordable housing and not to build more units? Is that the consensus? I feel like it's mostly what we talked about.
I think it could be both. I think you could promote affordable housing by building something. And whether or not the city owns that or just, helps fund it.
Mhm.
I know Madison uses their funds a lot in conjunction with Dane counties and WIDA tax credits
Mhm.
to get projects accomplished.
Mhm.
And I think that's another way.
Well, I was thinking, when you said like the loan investment program, is that for developers as well? Or like what ways do we help developers get access to capital for those larger projects
Mhm.
instead of the single family ones? Are there any programs?
Lisa, I think you said it pretty well. There's no end to the ways to use the money. It's really gonna be, we're gonna have limited money. We're gonna have to figure out what our priorities are, you know? That's gonna be the tough part, is just to kind of figure out what the priorities are.
I mean, it seems like if there are really good outcomes from that efficiency navigator program, that might be the easiest one too. That, because everybody was excited about it when we heard about the program and endorsing it the first time around. And if it's actually doing what we wanted it to do or think that it was doing, then
And I'd encourage people to check into that own it Building Black Wealth website. It was pretty interesting and it's kind of intriguing to think about.
Yeah, that's a good suggestion. And we can also, Daphne, can you share after the committee of the whole meeting,
Mhm.
share the link to Kurt Paulson's presentation that he's
Yeah.
going to give?
Yeah.
And also our discussion of TID 3.
Okay. Anything else?
Motion closed.
All right, we got, who provided the motion? I can't,
Alan did.
Alan,
Ellen, all right, do we have a second?
Second.
There we go.
That was
Somebody's
Sam.
brave. All right, Sam, good to hear your voice. All those in favor, signify by saying aye. Opposed? All right, we are officially adjourned at 6:18. So we will see you all soon. Have a great night.
Thank you.
Thanks,
Take care,
Darren.
everybody.